Oh! Oh, I was worried about that. Ooh. Oh, I did it again. Good morning, YouTube and the internets. First, apologies for my absence for the last 4 or 5 weeks. Got busy, had a lot of work on. With sort of short-term contracts, that was key to bust that out and make sure that if the opportunity arises, they want to come to me again. So I had to prioritise that. Thanks to the Mick26 for checking up on me, make sure I hadn't dropped dead. He's like, well, he's followed my channel for years, and also every channel that I seem to follow he turns up on, so he's a bit of a YouTube car serial pest, but in the good way. And no, I haven't done anything on the Skyline, haven't done anything on the Falcon. What I've got here today is a friend of mine's car, the Mazda CX-7. It's a bit rough, but it works, and my friend, she needs it. So the problem we have, she clipped a curb, and since then the front right's been making a horrible noise. I took it for a drive, and basically I thought, oh, the CV's buggered, and probably the dust shield as well because of the metallic-ness of the sound. But upon inspection, if I go like this, there's quite a lot of play in that hub. Far too much. Surprisingly, apart from the wheel alignment being out, it handled okay. I would have thought there'd be a bit more issue with that much play. Power steering, modern steering geometry, just not as much feel. So yeah, couldn't actually feel it. So that's what I'm going to do today. That is obviously a rooted wheel bearing. So I'm going to be replacing that for her today. So obviously the car's jacked up. It's on axle stands back here, and wheel is loose. We'll pop it off. Now we're going to put this back on. The reason being is we need to undo this nut, and park brake doesn't seem to stop the front turning, so I don't know if it's broken, and the handbrake is on the rear, so I can't make these stop turning. So we're going to pop out the center, put the wheel back on, put some weight on it so I can crack that nut in there. So the other thing you want to do is grab your bearing, ideally the night before you start the job. I haven't got that luxury because I went and bought it this morning, and pop it in your freezer. That'll shrink the bearing and make it easier to put in to the hub, or not the hub, forget what the receiver, yeah, just the hub, goes in the hub, or the carrier I suppose would be the right term. It makes it easier to drive that in later when you get the old one out. Now I am somehow, don't ask me how, out of penetrating fluid, WD-40 RP7 and the like. I don't have any. Now would be a great time to put some on here, but I don't have any, so I'm going to have to go without. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to break anything, and I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get everything off, but it would make my life a lot easier. And if you have more rust issues than we do in sort of Brisbane, Queensland, then yeah, it could be a problem for you. Definitely recommend grabbing some when you get the rest of your parts. 36mm socket. I had to buy this just for this job. And as suspected, it's too big. The nut is actually a 35, but I couldn't find a 35. The 34 is too small. We might be lucky and be able to get away with that. So first thing we're going to do is get a punch in here and relieve this castle nut from the shaft, so we can turn it. see how this goes. So I've just got 2 bolts, 2 nuts on here, and I've got a piece of wood under the tyre. Hopefully that's enough to hold it still just to crack this. If you've got a rattle gun, that's even better. In fact, mine's sitting right there. I might try it first. So I'm not sure if this rattle gun's, being electric, is going to be capable of getting this off. However, the garage is about 60 metres away with the compressor in it, and I don't have that much hose. We have a winner. Perfect. So we don't want to take it all the way off, we just need to make sure we can get it off. And we're going to leave it on there for now and take this wheel back off. So now I've got the fun job of relieving the car of the hub. So we're going to take off the brakes, got to take off the shocky, got to take off the steering arm, we're going to pop off the lower control arm and the sway bar and link here. And of course we're going to pop the CV shaft out. We will do that a little bit later. First of all, we'll get the brakes and the other bits and pieces off here, but we will pop this back in rather than try and pull it away, because you run the risk of pulling it out of the gearbox if you try and pull the hub out while it's still attached. That's the other reason for leaving this nut on. So well, let's get started on that. It's going to take a little while, but we'll get there. Oh. Head butt of the brake caliper. So this is, yeah, a good time if you had WD-40 to spray all the bolts you're about to loosen. Let's crack everything. That's going to be doing it up. These are going to be pretty damn tight. Do it the rattle gun there for a run to trouble. I also have bigger bars as well, so that's cracked, caliper's cracked. We also have to take the ABS sensor or speed sensor, may do both, off the back. Look at this sway bar end link, a long 14. Crack that. Excellent. Now there is an Allen hole in there, so we may have to hold that still before undoing it all the way and do it with a spanner, but we'll see what happens. Next we'll loosen this one, and then we'll go about looking at the lower control arm here. Pretty sure I got a splitter for that somewhere. Pin, don't lose it. Thinking 17. Yep. So one good thing about this car, plenty of room in this wheel arch. Okay, that's loosened. Now this low ball joint. Oh, this looks like a 14 mil. Okay, with everything cracked, now I'm confident I'm going to be able to finish the job. The reason I want to crack all of the bolts is, one, it stops undue tension going on one, making it harder to undo. Two, if one's seized or you're going to break it doing the job, you may not want to do the job until you've got a replacement. So by cracking them all, you know that you can get them all off before you're in the position where you can't put it back together because it's broken something. Right here. And the rotor will have to come off, but that will come off later. Let's get the brake caliper out of the way first. So like I said, it's just 2 bolts on the back of this. That's the wrong size. Could turn the wheel, but I don't want to because of reasons. Stuff I have to do later. But if you want to turn the wheel to get access to that, that is perfectly fine. Now we need somewhere to hang this and some way to hang that so it's not hanging off the brake line. Pop this clip off. Give us a bit more room to manoeuvre. Will also prevent it fouling when we pull this top bolt out of the strut. Now some wire. You can use anything you like for this, but I happen to have some whippersnipper cord or edger cord, whatever you want to call it, sitting right next to me, so I've grabbed it. Bolt. There is the caliper. And what am I going to hang that off? Nope. Off the shock. Good idea to position it in such a way that it doesn't foul on whatever you're going to be working on next. And that's not going anywhere. I hope. Let's see how much more play we've got now. So that is really badly flogged out. And definitely might have been a bigger impact than what she was admitting to. So again, this is a great time to have WD-40. Because these are a bit of a bastard. I do have a proper impact drive in the garage, but too lazy to get it. But I may have no choice. So, just like everything since I moved, I can find about half of everything I need. Aha! That is working. It's just getting stuck. Beautiful. Get back on this one. Lovely. Thankfully, these don't really do much but hold the rotor in place until you get the nuts on. But they will go back on. Alright, now. If you have trouble with this, there is like an M6 or an M8 hole here. Again, a bit of WD helps, but if you screw a bolt into that, it'll pull it off, but this one has come free with just a few taps. And that is as loose as your nana. So that should be the hard stuff out of the way, except for splitting this lower ball joint. We've got a bit more access. Let's pop this rear steering arm. A lot of people will wind the nut, well, a lot of people will just hit the top of the bolt. If you're going to hit the top of the bolt, Wind the nut up to the top so you don't flare the bolt. So you're hitting it on the nut. However, you should be hitting it here on the side. Voila. Bit of downward pressure while you're hitting the side, it should pop, but I was holding you, so I only had one hand. But that's done. Let's go with the sway bar link. It appears as though the shaft isn't spinning, so at least to a certain point. No, it is. Right, an Allen key going there and a spinner. Just got to hold the shaft still. 1/16 of a turn at a time. You could put a ratcheting ring spinner over it, then put the Allen key in, hold it, which with the amount of shaft there is here, I might do. Yeah, there's the winner, between the CV and the sway bar upper link. Alrighty. So the reason you have to undo that one first is so you can push this lower control arm down. I'm going to leave it attached to the shock for the time being to hold it in place. And next thing I do is take off this speed sensor. So the sensor just pulls straight out, and that's it. And that can hang without hurting it, and I'll put the bolt straight back where it came out of. Now I'll finish removing this steering arm, wind the nut off, put the nut back on. This has a pin, so I'll pop the pin back in, so don't lose that. So the only thing attached is the lower joint and the shock. So let's get this lower joint undone and try and separate that. That will be one of the trickier jobs. So the nut's loose. Grab the hammer, big screwdriver here. Try and jimmy that into the split behind it, which you can't see. Let's try and open it up a little bit. Oh, that was inevitable. God damn it, that's a finger I broke a few weeks ago. That hurts. Under there, and smacked on that with a hammer, and it does move. So just get a bigger, better bar. Okay, before we go any further actually, what I want to do is make sure we get that out of the drive shaft, the CV out of the hub. Where is that big socket? It's huge, I shouldn't be able to lose that. It's probably on the rudder gun still. See, just pop the shaft out the back. There's the springing, so that is free. When I pull the hub out, it won't pull the shaft out of the gearbox. That's it. Relieve it of the shock absorber. There we go, shaft is relieved. Let's pop that out of the way there. There you go. Now fall off, you bastard. No, no, the bolt's, actually let's just pop the bolt out. Easier said than done apparently. There we go. We'll pry this apart a little bit. Is now, beautiful. What we need to do, there's the hub. I made that harder than it had to be. Oh, that's bad. I don't know if you can see the amount of play, but I imagine you can hear that. Right, I'm having smoker. Some of that grease on that shaft. Oh, there's a groove in that. Jesus Christ. So there's a groove in that shaft. Obviously receives the bolt, which as soon as you take that out, I've spent an hour here that I didn't need to, because I didn't check. Always do your research. Alright, YouTube and the internet. Got the hub here in my vise. Just listen to that. That bearing is rooted. I've been finding bits of the bearing falling out and stuff. Bits of the race have gone, so this is not going to come out clean. But I grabbed, I bought this kit today. Right here. 50 bucks or something. I do need to do the rear wheel bearings, I think, on the Falcon, so this will come in handy. Just to drift in some things you smack it with a hammer. If you don't have a press, which I don't. I do have the vise and I use that to put the new bearing in, probably, maybe. I'll figure out a way to do that, but for now, I'm going to smack the old one out. So I'll tell you what, it's 44.5 mil. So we're just popping out the shaft, the hub, hub, out of this casting. Woo! That went a lot further than I expected. So what's left in here is a lot of debris. Obviously some ball bearings, but some, I don't even know what that is, but it's all shot to shit. It's actually pretty clean in there, all things considered. And here's the hub, and unfortunately the race has stayed stuck to the shaft. It's disappointing. So basically the bearing is separated, and I was pretty much expecting that, but I was hoping that wouldn't be the case. So to get the rest of the bearing out, we've got to pull this clip in. Actually, yeah, there's bugger all rust or anything in here. Pull that clip out, and then we can push. I think it goes out that way. I assume the clip being on this side means it goes in that way. Same way as the hub. Anyway, let's pop this bearing out, what's left of it, and to do that, I'm going to put you right there. Lovely. Let's get this clip out. Hopefully these mega pliers have sufficient opening. Yes, they do. Scares the shit out of me. It's going to spring out and hit me in the face, take an eyeball. straight ones. This may allow me some better control. Oh, that was nearly coming out there. Ow! Got my fingers caught in there. If at first you don't succeed, continue doing it the same way over and over and over again, and wonder why it doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to release that there. The top's popped out. Use a rag. Grab a hold of it. Just pop it out. There we go. Excellent. With that out, this bearing should come out. Now, again, if you had some penetrant, now would be a good time to use it, because you went and got everything you needed before you started the job. Not like me. That was pretty predictable. Okay, now we're going the right way. This should come out fairly easily. Let's try a new tact. Put that in there with this open wide enough to fit the tool, and use it as like a screw press. You're not even pointing in the right direction. Just because the bearing's so damaged, all the energy is going into further destroying the bearing, as opposed to pushing it out. Voila. So instead of smacking the buggery out of it, the front of the piece, workpiece, is bridged across there. That's nice and square in there. Let's see if that works. We'll just screw it in. Just like a press. Quite a lot of force already. No. I mean, I could keep going, but this feels like I'm going to break the vise before I get that bearing out. So So I'll just beat on it for a few more minutes. We're definitely making progress. It is moving, so I'm going to go back to this. I'll be sure I don't put too much force on that either and force the opening closed at all. But a WD would make this much easier, I think. That's why it's so hard. This is dry inside. You probably can't see from there now, but it's probably moved 8mm. Oh! Oh, I was worried about that. Ooh. Okay, I can move my fingers, my hand. It's not broken. I was just thinking I should get my lump hammer. Found my lump hammer, but the wedges come out of it. So, worry about the head coming off it. Yeah, that's no good. Don't hit your hand again. You see how far that's been pushed out now? It's just because it's dry. WD would make it a lot easier and would have saved me quite a lot of pain on my hand. See where it hit? Owie. Owie, owie, owie. A super jack. Super cheap jack press things were on special the other week and I was nearly going to buy one. I thought, nah, I won't need it. Wish I did now. Yeah, it's starting to come out the front, which means I can't go back to the vice method because it's now poking out past the end. Now I'm waiting for it to fly out, land on my toe or this slip and do some more damage to my hand. I can't hold this any further down. Oh, fall out, you bastard. Whew. Get it in there. There's the bearing. It's out. It's actually pretty clean in there. I'll just give that a very rough clean up and we'll put some grease in it before we reinstall. Make it a bit easier to put the new one in. Okay, so to get this race off, there's not really enough there for a puller to grab onto. So I think my best chance is to going to be split it. I'll get the angle grinder and cut a slot in it without cutting into the hub. You can see this is what the noise was. It was grinding metal around the back of the hub here where it was getting trapped in the assembly. But it's just polished it. It hasn't actually really taken anything away. There's no lip there. But yeah, I'll cut it with the angle grinder, two sides, split it, should just peel away. It's going to get very noisy in here. Alright, so the audio is going to be unusable because it's going to be too damn noisy, but might get some cool sparky pictures, not towards the car. Well, the battery went flat. This worked exactly as planned. I cut through it, I hit it with the cold chisel, split it, and pried it off. So then I've given everything a hit with the wire brush, and then some Scotch-Brite and some 240 grade sandpaper very lightly. And just on here, from when I had this sitting on top of the vise, there were a couple of impact marks, so I've given this a light file in the areas where there was some light damage. But all in all, pretty good. Now, I've got to grease everything. It's not going back together dry this time. And go get the bearing out of the freezer. Alrighty. Get some grease. Probably be wearing gloves. Not going to matter too much. A bit of grease never hurt anyone. Neck minute. Turns out it's carcinogenic. Okay. You don't want too much in there because it is such a tight fit. You end up like causing a hydraulic lock against it and making it harder for yourself because it is taking up space as well as lubricating. You can use oil, you can use anything you like. I prefer to use grease for no real reason. Now, fresh out of the freezer. Oh, that is cold. So these are universal as far as their direction. It would appear there's no up or down side. Okay, so this particular type doesn't have what I was talking about. Oh, geez, that's chilly. Okay, now, for the start of this at least, I'm going to use a bigger one so I can get right around the outside, and then I'll swap to the slightly smaller one which does catch the outer lip, but I'll wait till it's in there a bit. This will go, that's right, I was impeded on the other side. In fact, that might be the one all the way. Now if you're desperate, you don't have something like this, you could use the other bearing to put it in. Oh, I did it again. Same place. This is going to take a while. Not as long as getting it out at least. Jeez, that hurt. My hand hurts. It's going in square. Yep. Whew. Well, I'm starting to get so jizz. I wish it only had to go flush. It's pretty much flush now, and yeah, this will fit. Oh, that felt good. So that last strike there felt like it had driven home. I'll give it another one, but it basically threw the hammer back because there's no give anymore, and it's now transferring all the force into the bigger heavy bits. Hammer's now the lightest component and easier to move, so it throws it back. Yeah, that's solid. You can hear the note. Now this kit comes with a new snap ring. Here it is. This has been in the freezer as well. Instructions. Now this is going to be just as difficult to get in as it was to get out. Old one, which is in really quite good condition, will be easier. Certainly much bigger hooks for the pliers. Let's try the new one, and if I struggle I'll put the old one back in. If it was worn or rusted or whatever I wouldn't, but honestly it looks like it's been replaced at some point, so I'm surprised. I mean, obviously the damage came from hitting a curb, so that's what's ruined it. Nope, cannot get hold of that. Maybe I'll just force it in there now. Where's the other pliers? I really should clean up this garage, like all of it. Doesn't help that I greased everything. There was totally another large set of pliers here that I was using. The normal size pair would be better for control. You can't really hook into these. This one you can actually get into, yeah. I'm going to go with the old one. Now that's not quite in there. Ow! Need to get a screwdriver or a drill or something and tap that in all the way around. Make sure it's not stuck on anything, so just tap it so as it moves. Wow. Yeah, that moves around so it's in its groove, it's not just jammed in against something. And we're in. New bearing installed. Voila. Freezing it, I'm pretty sure made a pretty big difference along with that lube. I think I'd be there for a week trying to hammer that in if I didn't freeze and lubricate that. So, same for the hub. The second strike on my hand was not as hard, but in a far worse place. So, we're going to grease this now inside here to receive the hub. Now it's pretty obvious which way this one goes until I mess it up, and I will just quickly, while I'm here, put some grease inside the spline for the CV shaft. There we go. Now that should just go in there. What am I forgetting? Dust shields on. So all I did in the garage, isn't it? Was doesn't go in the other side or something stupid like that. Doesn't go in that way. Pretty sure it doesn't. All the suspension arms are on the back. Yeah, it goes that way. Alright. So let's grab honestly, that's probably fine on top of the hub like that. Which means the bigger one will also be fine. Let's drive it home. That's that sound. Hub is driven home. Oh, you can't even hear it. thumb hurts. Alright, back in the garage. Got to put that hub back in there. Really is just the reverse of taking it out. So if you want to stop here, by all means. If not, I'll keep filming and put it all back together and take this thing for a test drive. Okay, let's pop that back on there. Get on there. Go on. Get the angle right, I think. What? Oh. Need to smack that back in there to open it up. Of course, I left all the hammers down in the shed. Shouldn't need a lot. It's not in the way. Let me go get my hammer. Okie dokie. Let's try again. There we go. Nope. Started. Lovely. Perfect. Now, where'd that bolt go? Really should have put that somewhere. There it is. Because I pried that apart, the holes don't line up real well. Gentle taps got it in. Lovely. So, pop the CV back in. Come on. Line up. There we go. Cast some nut and just zip it on finger tight so it doesn't slip back out. Line up our shock again. Lovely. One on the top. Where's it going to go for that one? That way. Perfect. Get a nut on each of those. That's the nut off that down the bottom. There's the other nut for the shockies. Should really be very simple and easy from here on in. Just take the nut off the sway bar link, pop that back through. Voila. Steering arm, let's reconnect that. I really hope the CV is okay. Because I'd hate to have done all this just to have to undo it all later. Put that nut on. Leave the pin off so I can get the socket on there in a minute. So now we have steering attached. Connected down there. I think it's time for the brakes. So one thing I will be doing is putting some anti-seize compound on here. This will ensure that the hub, the rotor doesn't get stuck. So just a little bit over most of it, like so, and that will ensure if the hub has to come off again later, it won't get stuck. Alright, that was my phone going off in the background. That was the second call today I've had where I've been asked to provide a number that I'm willing to work for and start immediately. So that is good news. Now, that's got to line up with those holes there, which means that's got to go that way because it's eccentric. That one. See, like I was saying, the anti-seize will just stop it being too difficult to remove again in the future. These screws do not need to be half as tight as they were. One there. One there, but obviously they just get tight because of the heat cycles and stresses going through them. Get that a net. Get that a net, and then when I put the brakes on and everything's locked in, I'll pull the wheel up. That'll put extra stress on it, and then I'll pop the wheel off, do these up again, and that'll it'll probably release them a little bit, and then I'll get the last torque on them. Okay, brakes. With that far through, actually let's torque up all these other bolts while I've got good access without the caliper in the way. So this one down here is a 14 from memory. On the ball joint. That is seated all the way down, yes. It's turning both ends. Spinner on the back side of that. One. 17. Should be here. Yep. Okay. Now that pin I'll put in a safe place. There's the safe place right there. Excellent. Let's get this on the big bar for these so we can get plenty of torque on that. That's enough. We put our speed sensor back on here. Okay, let's start this end link before I forget about that. This is the 14. So I need the ratcheting ring spinner and the Allen key, probably the opening spinner and the Allen key. Okay, do I do that up? I'm pretty sure I did, but it's easier to check. Yep. Then I need to scrape the car back up onto a trailer after I crash it because I didn't do it up. So that's done, that's done. Could use a marker to mark all the things you've done. I did those. Okay. We have contact. Oh, that one's solid. Where are those punches? What's should really replace the castle nut when you do this spindle nut. So. But again, a bit like the 300ZX, when I did the drive shaft centre bearing, I couldn't get one quickly and easily, so I'll just reuse this one. Beautiful. That's not coming off. Alright, brake caliper. Let's give these a nip now actually. Where's the little shifter I had earlier? Okay, they're done, that's done, that's done, that's done. I shouldn't have steering lights on. That's the bolt ready. The pads are crap back together. There we go. Get the top one started, then we're home. Get rid of that. One more bolt. I do own a torque wrench, actually I own 3. Tight is how you want them. The last thing to go on will be this clip. That is done. Put the centre back on the wheel, put the wheel on, take it for a drive. Well YouTube, test drive went awesome. I've since had a shower. I feel great now. Yeah, job's done. Easy fix. Would be easier if I had a press. Frustrating, but you know, that's what happens when you don't quite have all the right tools. But job done. Needs wheel alignment, obviously, because it's taken a hit, but apart from that, it's tip top. So yeah, about to go and drop the car back off, and should have this edited up and up this week. Also, you may have noticed something hiding over there. I bought another car. That needs stuff doing to it as well. Not a lot though. So yeah, AE92 Corolla. I'll get into that one on the next video, I think. But yeah, you would have seen it, I assume, in the background. And yeah, it's mine. So I'll be doing some stuff with that. None of this is holding up the Skyline. The Skyline's more important than anything else, but there's certain things have to fall into place for me to move forward on that. Anyway, going to drop this car off now.